How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Tour Life. Today is July 15th, and we're back with another one, baby. We are back in our normal positions here. We just got a week of filming up at Foundation HQ up in Lynchburg, Virginia, but we are back. Yuli is still probably fast asleep, so we got Gary and PDJ Mike with us as well. I don't think we're going to get Yuli until the end of this European tour. We might have some tricks up our sleeve, though, coming up. So stay tuned to the end of the podcast for that. But, Gary, how's it going, brother?
Pretty good. Very long day being back at work after getting to play disc golf and all that kind of fun stuff for a whole week. So, but we're back at the grind. How are you doing? You sound a little, maybe a little sick over there.
I got absolutely dominated. I started to feel a little bit. I was in bed pretty much all day Saturday. And then I was in bed pretty much all day Sunday, and then I started feeling okay. And I was like, I got to get my run in. So I went out and did a 6.5 mile run, which I think ended up killing me again. So these last 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, I mean, I'm at 2,000 steps today. I'm normally in the 15 to 20,000 step range. So I don't like being sick, but gosh darn it, am I sick right now, and it does absolutely suck right now. So I'm hoping maybe tomorrow I can get back in the gym, get back on plans. But yeah, we filmed Imposter this past week. That should be coming out, I believe, I think they're going to take a few months of editing, because I was talking to Connor, who's going to do most of the editing. I think Silas will do some as well. And just day one, the amount of footage they have this year from just day one is insane. One of the big things we heard from the people last year that watched Imposter, and if you guys haven't watched it, go over to Foundation Disc Golf, type in Imposter, and watch last season so you can get kind of up to date on what's going on for this season. But some of the complaints we heard was not enough footage, not enough knowing what's going on. There was some alliances being formed, some strategy being done, and we didn't really capture that. So they did an incredible job this year to make sure that all of that was going to be captured, and they knew what was going down. But the problem with that is tons of footage. So a couple months from now, you guys will see that come out. So definitely go and check that out. Other things too, I have a video coming out soon. And one of the reasons why I'm currently sick the way I am, so please watch this video when it does drop. Me and Trevor thought it would be a smart idea to go out and play New London after we did a whole bunch of filming, and I did my run workout and my lift that day. I think that absolutely just killed me. Too much in one day. Also didn't help that I wasn't sleeping at all. But that comes out probably tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. But other than that, we are back here in Dallas, ready to go. We'll talk a little bit about the major coming up and what our coverage for said major will look like, because we might be able to move some things around and maybe get some interviews with that. So stay tuned for the end for that. But this past week, we had the Krokhol Open go down, but before that, we did forget, because last week it was kind of a weird episode, right? We had the Grip Lock guys come on, talk a little bit. We completely forgot about what I thought was the biggest story of the week, and that was a PDGA Europe official, which I guess there is some difference there, Gary, between PGA Europe and PDGA. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why they say PDGA Europe versus PDGA. I think it's all one official, but a PDGA Europe official ended up telling Gannon, who's explained this in an interview, that he had 2 minutes to get to his tee time. I guess Gannon had looked at his tee time, or he didn't look at it. He just assumed, because Gannon normally plays in either the last card or, second to last or third to last cards. He normally has this idea of exactly what times those were. And I guess for this tournament, those times were a little bit different. And so he had just assumed his tee time was X when in fact it was Y. And had this PDJ Europe official not gone up to Gannon and told him, hey, man, you got 2 minutes to get to this tee time, he would have ended up missing his tee time, would have had a two-stroke penalty. And thus, if you start connecting all the dots, dropping all the dominoes, he would not have won the tournament. So my question here to you, Gary, is I think I'm okay with it if this PDJ Europe official was out there at the very first tee time and he was doing it for every single player. My guess, though, is he wasn't, and that's where I have an issue with it.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely saw this similar thing kind of play out with the whole conversation on our last major with the Champs Cup and the officials following certain cards. It's hard to get to see like preferential treatment or anything that isn't completely fair across the board being done by any kind of official, whoever it may be, in any kind of capacity, because you have to be able to do the same thing for everyone. Now, if it's a case of, like you said, if the guy's job is, hey, we got tee time coming up, I'm going to walk over to the practice area. If there's anyone there that I see who really should be over there by now, I'm going to tell them and give them a heads up. Great. But at the same time, I think when you're one of the top players or the top player in the sport, and this is your job, it's your job to know what time you got to be there. And so I think
he owned that. He said he should have looked. And I agree. You 100% should know, and you shouldn't like risk it of just saying like, I think I know what tee time is. But I'm with you on this. I just don't think it's the PGA's job to be going and making sure players are getting to their tee time on times. I just don't think that should ever happen. And it's just, again, one of those things that doesn't make sense in disc golf, but it is what it is, I guess. Okay. Krokhol Open recap. Let's go through it. A couple big storylines that came out of this tournament. First off, we're playing at the number one course. Now, is this number one course ranked off of Udisc? Is that what we're going off of, number one course?
Yes.
I would love to see because I don't think Udisc is a good indicator. I'll go out and say it. I don't think Udisc is a good indicator because you got people going and playing. For example, I don't think this happens across the board, but just for example, you have people going out and having a bad experience because of weather or a bad experience because of X, Y, and Z. And they basically say, they take away points on the course. I would love to see like a committee. And I think maybe the best way of doing it is you probably have to have a lot of pro players on this committee, because there's probably not that many players that would be able to play a whole bunch. But I think it would be fun to have like a committee that have played a lot of these top courses and for them to vote and have like a have it like be a standardized thing of these are all the things you're voting on with each course, and go through it and at the end figure out what is actually the number one course, or a top 10. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues that I have with the top 100 list is the idea that this is the number one course in the world. Is such a vague statement to make. Like, if you said this is the number one most popular course in the world as rated by Udisc, I think that's a bit more open to saying like what it actually is, because who's to say you couldn't go out there and find a pretty solid course and through sheer effort and legwork get that course to be number one in the world, just because I mean, I think, didn't you do a thought experiment a while back about trying to get Dash's track on the
Dash's track blew through the rankings pretty quickly after that. Shout out to everyone that has gone and rated Dash's track. But yeah, I mean, when you're doing a ranking system, I think people are looking at certain things different, and everyone has different criteria when it comes to their rankings on Udisc. Now, when you go to a new city, is it a great way to figure out what courses to play? 100%. I'm not doubting that. I'm not saying that's not what the case is. I'm just saying I think it would be cool to have a committee of where we know all these top players that have played all these courses, and maybe not even top players. It could also be people that have just played a lot of courses and traveled, they would have a good idea of what they think is the best and whatever. And then you have all of them, you can average it out to kind of see. I think it'd be very interesting to me to see where certain courses land. But that all being said, watching coverage, I've never played out this course, but watching coverage, it's not a shock to me that this is a top course that we currently have in disc golf. Not only is it a course that feels like, hey, this is a disc golf course, which I think is a huge thing. I think it's very difficult to make a course, highly ranked and have it be either a temporary course or one that's like on a golf course. It's very difficult just because there's a lot of factors that might go into making the course completely different from year to year because you don't have control in a lot of things. Now, I do know hole 18 on this course, players weren't allowed to practice hole 18 for the first couple days because they actually did have to rent it out from the golf course. It was the only hole I believe they had to rent out from the golf course. So there is, a little bit of an asterisk there. But for the majority of the course, when you're watching this, you're not thinking of anything other than this is a disc golf course, which I think is a huge thing to allow courses to really grow and be like every year kind of changing for the better versus coming in and someone telling you, hey, these are all the things that change that are out of your control. Figure it out, right? And I think the other thing that sets this course apart from a lot of other courses is the detail to like the greens. I think a lot of the baskets and the greens look great, but also there is some detail and some thought to the course design, which definitely makes this course a little challenging at times. We saw some players, go out and shoot good rounds, but then also go out and shoot bad rounds. And to me, that really is what justifies a great course, is one that you're not going to be able to just go out and average 10 to 14 under all 3 rounds.
Yeah, I like that every single green was not made the same. You had to, in every single hole you played this past weekend, you had to think about not only your tee shot and where you were landing it, but when you approach the green, you had to think about where on that green you were trying to approach it from. I mean, even just on like hole 18, you had that little kind of bump in front of the basket, which creates something like, do I want to try to land in front of that and roll over it? Do I want to try to land on top of it, behind it? I mean, just
definitely would have been a little bit more interesting if the shots weren't,
Yeah.
less than 200 feet. But yes,
Agreed.
I get what you're saying.
Agreed. But yeah, I like how just uniquely designed the course was. I'm still up in the air as to whether or not I like this one or number 2, Ale, which I know the owners of Ale are trying to push to be number 1 in the world. So I like hearing that there are courses that are like competing with one another.
Heck
and
yeah.
trying to be number 1 in the world and trying to make those changes and appeal to the market. And I like that. I pulled up real quick how Udisc decides, by the way, on what the course ranking is. And they say here that they try to use a methodology that applies more weight to recent reviews to help identify which courses with excellent but relatively few ratings are true destinations rather than just local favorites. So
Okay.
it sounds like there's definitely, they try to apply some recency to it, and it's not just the course locally that all of its fans go in and rate it. So there actually is power. So if you really like your course out there and you think it deserves to be on the list, go leave a rating.
Yeah, I think the thing that pushes me back a little bit from Udisc is the fact that everyone's rating it, and I think there's a lot of people out there that, depending on how they play, for example, you'll hear, we'll talk about New London here in a little bit.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people prior to me playing it saying how they don't like it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be very interested to see how the course is. I think it's a better course than than the old New London. And the reason I heard, or, once you start kind of breaking it down of like, why are all these people saying they don't like it? Well, it's because there's no short tees yet. There's no FPO tees. They all have to play tees that they shouldn't be playing from. And so the course doesn't suit them, their playing style, their skill level. And thus they just say this course sucks. It's too hard or whatever. And that's where it's like, when you're taking into account all the Udisc, how many people go out and have a bad round or don't play well, and they take it out in the course and, give a low rating of the course that way. Right. So that's where it's like a committee of where there's 20 people or 25 people or whatever, and everyone knows, hey, when you go and play a course, you're putting your biases away, and you're looking at the course, not how you play it, but actually how the course is. So we'll see. All right. Let's go through a little bit. We're obviously, guys, going to talk about the playoff. I think that was the biggest storyline that came out. That and Kristin Latt, those were the two biggest storylines I think that were coming out of this week. We're going to talk about those, but I do want to talk about the winners first, because I do think they're going to probably get brushed under the rug. And to be honest, I don't think Colin or Ben really care. They don't seem like the type of people that are going to be like, wow, I want all these podcasts to be talking about me and not these other storylines. I think they're very happy with taking the win and not really getting a bunch of the fanfare around it. Especially Ben, obviously, this being his first win on tour after being a professional disc golfer for so long. And I think Brian did a great job of, over the hour plus of extra footage that we had, him explaining kind of some of the stories that Ben Calloway has gone through to get to where he finally has gotten. So Ben Calloway wins it in a 3-person playoff, which ended up actually really, it was pretty much a 2-person playoff very, very quickly after Maury threw his first shot OB. But Ben ended up birding the five holes in a row, hole 18, obviously, every single time to win the playoff. And I mean, this was one that I'm sure halfway through the round, you talk to him, he's even par going into the back 9. He had some pretty bad throws, missed some putts. I'm sure if you talk to him, and again, we're not going to have any really guests come on at our normal time, guys, because it is, I believe, like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning right now over there. And they're getting ready for a major. But hopefully we can get him come on at some point and talk about it, because I bet he would be like, bro, I'm in a great spot to win this. We have seen him in other spots, notably Jonesboro. That was the other tournament that he normally always does really well at. But we've never been able to see him actually like take it down and win, right? And I'm thinking, if I'm in his position, you got to be thinking, oh, here it goes again. Like I'm throwing this away with as many people that were kind of chasing him down, right?
Yeah, I think because I saw a comment come across the section here, it said, how did he win? He's not very good. One of the problems is that there are so many great players in the MPO division that to win nowadays, you have to put forth 3 or 4 really consistent rounds. And it feels like there have been a number of times, like you mentioned, Jonesboro. I also think of, was it last year or the year before, Idlewild? He was really in contention for a while. He always just kind of has that round. And watching when we got through the front 9, I'm like, Ben, don't let this slip through your fingers again, man. And even throughout the rest of the back 9, kind of he gets his birdies, but every so often he sprinkles in that bogey. And I think it just goes to show how impressive it is to even get a win on tour nowadays, because of just the level of consistency you have to play at. And I mean, yeah, I'm super pumped for the guy, because I've had a few interactions with Ben over the last few years, and he just seems like one of the nicest guys on tour, really out there grinding and just being a great guy. It was actually one time I was out there for a clinic he was running, and he got like the stomach bug in the middle of the clinic, and he was so apologetic he had to run away from it, but just the nicest guy ever. So I'm super happy to see him win.
I also like that he won too, because this doesn't help Hunter's case and everyone else's case with the age thing and how you hit a certain peak and you can't do anything. The dude is almost 40. I think there's PJ Brad in the chat. He's 38 years old and he won for the first time on tour.
Yeah.
To all those people saying like once you're over 33 or 34, you just start getting worse at disc golf. Well, clearly that's not the case, because this was Ben's best tournament ever and he's 38. He's been playing, I believe, touring for like 10 plus years, something like that. I think they were saying. So pretty crazy stuff coming from Ben. But if you watch any of the coverage, and this was your first time of watching Ben, he has one of the more pure looking swings in disc golf, not just the backhand side, but also the forehand side. I think the putting thing, his putting stroke is actually not a bad putting stroke, but that is the one thing that I have seen tournaments that I've been at with Ben that is the one thing that I have seen him struggle with. I remember there was a tournament we played together. He was either on the, can't remember if he was on the same card as me or a card, but no, I think he was on the same card as me. It was back when we played a silver event or something in the Northwest. It was Kayak Point, I think. Maybe we can get Edwin Stats to look up Kayak Point. This was a tournament that Ben probably should have won. And his putting just completely left him in, I think, the second round, or it might have been the first round. And I just remember after that round seeing him on the putting green for a very long time. Now, this was back early on when I was just starting to tour, and I tended to be one of the few, if not only, guys that would actually go back to the driving range or back to the putting green after my round. Very few times would I see anyone else do it. Occasionally you see someone bounce out there, maybe putt for 5 minutes and then leave. But it almost got to the point of where I was like, dude, who's gonna stay longer, me or Ben? And you could tell that during the round, he was just really getting frustrated because he was throwing a lot of good shots. He just couldn't get the disc to go into the basket. So it was really good to see. And that was kind of the thing that was popping into my head during the playoff, is I was like, are we going to get one of those moments of where he has a 20, 25 footer and he misses it? And that's going to be another thing where he's like, gosh, dang it, the dang putt. But he had like 2, I want to say, out of the 5 approach shots that were like iffy putts, like putts that you're like, that's not guaranteed. And I think the other 3 were all drop-ins. He was getting pretty good at that upshot. So it was great to see from him. Another, I think this is now the 9th unique winner on the MPO side. So we're seeing more and more guys. Again, something that I've been saying for a while now, the more we see these courses become more and more challenging. And I thought this course was decently challenging. 8 under par, all 3 rounds, would have won by 2.
Yeah.
That's not crazy. And I wasn't there, Gary, but it didn't look like any of the days the wind was insane.
No, the weather was pretty decent the entire time they were there. I think it was a little bit windier on the second day, but nothing compared to what we've seen here in the States before they went over to Europe.
Yeah. And so, looking at the leaderboard, what it tells me is this was a course that it was very difficult for players to go out and be hot all 3 rounds. Like it just didn't happen. There was always, looking at Jakob, who got second place. He shot 4 under the first day, then went 9-9. Kyle Klein, who finished in 4th, he shot 3 under the first day, 8 and then 10. You got Maury. Maury's a great one. Maury shot 2 under the first day, then went 10 and 10. So it seemed like the first day was really kind of got a lot of people tripped up. But then you have like Raven Newsom. He went 8 under, 5 under, 7 under. So he was actually probably one of the more consistent guys towards the top. Ezra, his bad round was the second round. He shot 7 under, then he went 3 under, and then he finished with a 10 under. So it seemed like a lot of people that had one round trip them up. It just seemed like a course that was very difficult to go from hole 1 to hole 18 clean. And, he was one of the best in the first 2 rounds. He held on. And then luckily for him, he played hole 18 that he felt very confident in.
Yeah, I mean, to birdie hole 18 that many times in a row, I looked it up. He had according to this, and I know how scoring goes, but his 2 longest putts were 13 feet and 19 feet. So he had a 6-footer, a 9-footer, a 13-footer, a 3-footer, and then a 19-footer. And that 19-footer must have felt like a mile away after being so close.
Those 2 19-footers were the ones where I was like, if he's going to miss one, this is where it's going to come.
Which is really interesting because he was going up against somebody else who kind of is in that same boat where, Jakob has stretches where he can putt really well, but man, he also has stretches where when it doesn't look good, it doesn't look good.
He might be the streakiest putter on tour.
Yeah, very possibly.
Because I think for the longest time, like I think he won like the world championship in putting. I don't know what that means. Yeah. But that was like a title that he had, right? So like everyone was like, oh my gosh, this guy's so good at putting. And then there was like a clip that came out where he like 5 putted inside of the circle, right? And so that doesn't really ever happen from a really great putter. And so he was super, super streaky. And, we'll go a little bit more into the playoff here in a second. But shout out to Ben. Going down the leaderboard a little bit. Hey, I want to say I love this for my guy Mari, right? We're looking for that next big guy. Jakob, we've seen him, I think Jakob's the type of guy that he can catch fire and get up there, but we're looking for our next Niklas, right? Someone that is going to be consistently pushing up leaderboards. And we thought it could be this Mari guy. He had a really bad PCS open, but here he comes back, fires off a 10 under final round to finish tied for second, goes into the playoff, chance to win it, has an unfortunate bad shot on his drive, which you just cannot do. But I like seeing this guy. I want this guy in the mix at one of these two majors, Gary.
Yeah.
I want to see him.
He has the win at Konapiche earlier this year where he absolutely just dominated the field. He has all the skills he needs. I think there are a few players that come to mind that I think a lot of people who've been watching European disc golf have to have their eye on, and Mari's one of them. I think technically in terms of events played and wins, he has one of the best win rates on tour right now. But another guy is like Daniel Davidson. He didn't play very well this weekend, but like there's a lot of talent coming up in Europe, and I think Mari's one of those guys you have to watch. And we also saw a really good performance from Laurie as well, doing the same thing.
Fun story about Daniel. I believe that is the player 3 years ago. I went into a playoff at the European Open for a USDGC spot.
Okay.
Yep. Like we were both, I think we were both like in, I don't know, 30th place. So it wasn't like we were playing on fire, but it was very stressful that, I think the tournament was still going on, and the TDs or officials or whatever was like, hey, just go out and play hole one and just let us know who gets it. And so, it was a good time. It was fun to go out there and have to play in a little playoff or something with him. But he clearly has gotten a lot better since then too.
Oh yeah.
Because he's made some moves. Good performance here by Kyle Klein. We're starting to see him come into form again. Just a really, he's the type of guy that he got top 5 and no one's really talking about him, right? He is sneaky, gets in there. No one really talks about him. Niklas, great performance. Ezra continues playing very good here. Throws in from eagle from like 150 feet or something on hole 18 and moves up 10 spots into a 6th place finish. Raven Newsom, another guy that, seeing his name up here, is it surprising? A little bit, but he has been known to play great and have some good finishes. But this is now back-to-back great finishes from Raven Newsom. Is this a name that would be maybe an Andrew Presnell this year, sneaking away, taking one of these majors?
I would be surprised to see it because, I know you can take off-tour events with a grain of salt, but if you look at a lot of the go-through events that have been pretty decently attended by the MPO side, Raven's done very well at those events too. So I'm wondering if just the more consistent play with better players around him is sort of leading to this better play and greater consistency on his end. But I could see him being sneaky and popping off, or even getting just another top 10. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the top 10 for a major this year.
And then we got Lori Lettinen, who was pretty much one throw away from winning this tournament, right?
Yeah.
Hole 16, he throws a good tee shot there, birdies that hole. He wins this tournament by one shot. So that's just how crazy this leaderboard was. At one point in time, we were looking at it like we might have an 8-person playoff, which, thinking about that now, Gary, with what we know, it could be still going on at this point. If there was 8 people playing hole 18, it might still be going on. So thank God it was only 3 and not 8. But Lori Lettinen having a really, really great tournament. Good to see from him. Gannon Burb, kind of, to me, this is one of those where, had he thought he had a chance to win or make the playoff, I think he finishes a little bit different than Bogey. Seems like he kind of took his foot off the gas a little bit there. But again, top 10 finish, not bad. Ricky Wysocki.
Tough one.
We got to talk about Ricky here. Past winner, coming in the final hole, knows that birdie will get him into the playoff, right? And it'll be a 4-person playoff. That's what you got to think. You got to think these other guys are going to be birdieing it. And on a hole, again, I haven't thrown the shot, guys, but I've watched enough people throw it. It just seems like a routine hyzer. With his power, it seems, or at the very worst, Gary, of your most overstable disc, flat, high to the right.
Yep.
That's just what it seems like. And the last thing you can do is throw a B there.
Yeah. Watching Ricky's round was a tough one for me because I feel like even just going back to last year, it's wholly different because the first 9 holes, he's what, 1 over par through 9.
He had two doubles. I mean, the first one was a bad roll away that went OB, so it's kind of like you scratch that one off. But
to get to, I mean, I can't imagine that there's a worse. I almost feel like he'd rather just not be in it than to be in it and to surge, get in it, and then lose it there with such a poor shot on his part. But I was really surprised to see him pull it. But then we saw other players kind of pull it on the hole too. So I don't know. I don't think he was going for any kind of eagle play because that hole pretty much is just a straight up birdie fest. If you just play, and a lot of people were saying it was the same disc for the first 2 shots. Like you could literally walk up with probably 3 or 4 discs and play that hole the same way every time.
Yep. All right. That's pretty much your top 10 there. Going down to some notable names. We're seeing Isaac Robinson finishing in 11th. Sully still performing well, also finishing in 11th. Let's see here. We've got AB and Paul Macbeth. Probably not where they wanted to be going into a major. AB finishing in 19th. Paul finishing in 21st. Paul was also like at one point like 50th place in this tournament. He shot 13 under for the tournament, but finished with 9 under. So really played really well that final round to move up 18 spots. But he was sitting like 40th or something like that, I think, after round 2. Evan Smith, same kind of ordeal. Great final round, but didn't really have it at the beginning. Let's see some more notable names. A little surprising finish from Calvin Heimberg here, 28th place.
Yeah.
Just didn't seem to really have it this week. Let's see. Any other
big names down there?
Yeah. And I think what we're starting to see too is not only did a lot of American players make the trip over for this event, obviously being 1 week out of the 2 majors, we're also starting to see, a lot more European flags in between these American flags.
Yeah.
And I think we talked a little bit about this on debate night where you guys will hear later this week, but I don't think the top echelon talent is there as far as depth goes on the European side. I think that's what's really has changed is when you used to go and play a European event, if you played bad, you were still cashing. Now, if you play bad, you're not going to cash at a European event or an American event. That 30 to like 60 range, Gary, now is very deep on the European side and the American side, which I think is going to make for some interesting majors because I think now you have a lot more people potentially that could be in the mix. Where before it was pretty much just like, hey, it's this core group. You can have some people kind of pop off now on day 1 and be way up the leaderboard. Now, will they hold on to it? Who knows? But I can tell you right now, Calvin Heimberg, if he he's not finishing 28th at any event in Europe a few years ago. No shot.
That's his worst finish of the year. It's the first time this year he's finished outside the top 15.
And 7 under is what you had to shoot to cash. So it's not crazy that far behind the leaders here. We got people missing cash this tournament. Barsby, Bradley Williams, Conrad, Cole Rodolin, Garrett Gurthey, Adam Hammis missed cash.
Yep. Ezra
Robinson, Kevin Jones, Presnell. So some big name people, Nate Sexton. Big name people, Proctor. Obviously, he's coming back from an injury. Yuli didn't have that great of a week. Chris Clemens. So some interesting stuff there on the MPO side.
Yep. Matteo dropped out. I guess he's having a finger issue, but
yeah,
he'll be back.
hopefully gets that sorted before this week. Definitely would
Mhm.
love to see him in these majors. All right, let's pop now on over to the FPO side. Holland Hanley gets another W from this week. Not too much drama on the actual competition side. She kind of won it pretty handily, shooting 4 under. She didn't really need too much in the final round. Everyone that was kind of chasing her didn't have the greatest round. Silva, for example, just shoots even par that final round. So she never really felt pressed, right? Especially she was only 1 under through the first 11. So she kind of was able just to kind of coast. Cadence Burge, though, did have a great final round, shooting 9 under, which I believe was the course record, and finishing 11 under for the tournament, which put her in a tie for second with Ella and Silva. Kristin Latt, who we'll talk a little bit about now, finishing. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about Holland before we get to Kristin. I think Holland is putting herself in a position of having like a very sneaky all-time good season here.
Mm-hmm.
Very sneaky all-time good season. I think whenever you have some of the other top players playing poorly and you're winning, I think there is going to be discussion about those top players that play poorly, right? And versus if Kristin was playing well and Holland was still beating her, the storyline would be a little bit different. But regardless, Holland is playing some very, very good disc golf season this year. And I think where I'm at right now. I think I would be surprised if she doesn't win one of these 2 majors coming up.
Yeah, that wouldn't be surprising at all. I was really happy to see her take the win because I think there were some seeds of doubt sown at the Discmania Challenge of, hey, you're missing Missy, you're missing Kristin, you're missing Evelina Silva, and she kind of couldn't close down the stretch, but she rebounds from that, comes out. This is her first ever trip to Europe, I believe, or at least this is her first European win, and takes it down. In fact, you've got the top 2 people here, their first time playing in Europe. That's pretty incredible. And I think Holland, as it was alluded to by a comment here, yeah, I'm having a really hard time looking at this top group of like 3 or 4 ladies and wondering who is the top right now. When you look ahead to the rest of the season, you're like, who has more to win or lose when you go forward, because you've got Kristin trying to retain her crown as the greatest female player currently. You've got Holland, who's trying to almost step into the limelight saying, I'm the best there is. Evelina clearly is a dominant player. And then you got Silva, who wants to move out of Kristin's shadow. You got these 4 ladies vying for the top, and Cadence is here knocking on the door saying, I belong in this conversation too. It's great to see the parity in FPO right now.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a lot of answers at the end of this first major. I think there's a case to be said. I don't know if Silva would take I think Silva and Cadence would be the 2 that I wouldn't put at the top if they won. But if Holland wins, Evelina wins, or Kristin wins, I think it's very easy to put them at the top after this major. But then everything could change the next week with the next major. So
exactly,
it'll be very interesting to see what goes down. And don't count out Missy too. This first course is going to set up very well for Missy's game. I expect her to be in the mix at this first major. All right. We got to talk about the putting. I didn't think the putting was as big of an issue, but after this tournament, guys, the putting is an issue. These were her stats from the final round. Or sorry, not for the final round. These are her stats, I believe, for the entire tournament.
Yeah.
At Krokhol Open here. She went 12 of 27 from C1X putting. 12 of 27. She missed 15 putts. 15 putts inside of circle 1. She then also went 2 of 16 from circle 2, when she usually is a decent circle 2 putter. And I get it sometimes, circle 2 can kind of be misleading because you can kind of have a bunch of 55 footers, or, there might be some water behind the basket, or, there could be things going on to make your circle 2 putting from tournament to tournament kind of change a little bit. But 2 from 16 is dreadful. Dreadful. I mean, you can close your eyes and make more than 2 from 16. Her average putt distance, that's the other big thing here, Gary. Average putt distance was 9.2.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who did it. Someone on Reddit posted this. They found a video of her putting last year and a video of her putting this year. And I think we have the clip to be able to show you guys the difference between the two. And you can just see one of them, it just looks like she's confident. She knows what she's doing. And the other one looks like she has the yips. It looks like she has the yips, Gary, where she just cannot pull the trigger. It almost looks like, cupcake. It looks a little bit, looks like Nico. Looks like some of these guys that take a little bit longer to pull the trigger. And they've talked about how mentally they want to putt faster. They want to play faster, and they just can't. And I'm wondering if she has that. I mean, we're seeing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then goes 8 pumps on the top image there.
The big one for me is if you play it again, watch what happens when the disc comes out of her hand on the top. Watch how she almost stops her body's momentum, almost like she's trying to stab the putt, and then watch the bottom where she follows through. Like, this to me feels like, I'm kind of like lazy, not following through, and then she kind of pushes herself more into the bottom one.
Yeah, the bottom one's it's putting is all about commitment. It's all about, do you think you can make the putt? And the other thing too, and this really is the one that changes good putters to great putters from inside the circle. Are you afraid of the comebacker? If you're not afraid of the comebacker, if you're not afraid of airballing the putt, because you're like, hey, I'm going to miss putts every once in a while. I'm not going to make everything. It's impossible, right? To make every putt. So if you're in your head thinking, okay, if this is the one that I miss, that's fine. I'll make the next one. You can putt so much freely, so much more confident. And a lot of times that's what it boils down to. The people that end up putting timid and not making the putts, it's not so much they're afraid of missing that putt. It's they're afraid of missing the next putt if they miss that putt. And I think that's what you can kind of see with her putting right now, is she's just not confidently putting it in the basket. And that will change things drastically.
Yeah, and it's got to be even more disappointing for her because she led the field in parked percentage, C1 in regulation, and C2. Nobody had more of an opportunity to capitalize on the putting green than she did. And like you saw the comment there, 6th worst C1X for the entire FPO division this weekend. That's got to feel like this has got to start emotionally stacking on her, I feel like. And I don't know. It's definitely shaken a lot of my confidence going forward of saying I take her for the win. I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't win either major coming up, which is crazy to say. You would have said a month ago, said that, and someone looked at you like you're nuts.
She's at least going to win 1, but probably 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the odds probably have shifted from beginning of the season. The odds were probably that more in favor that she wins both. And now I think the odds are probably more in the favor that she wins neither of them. I would agree with you on that. Now, when we had her on the podcast, I thought one of the more interesting things she has said was how she just doesn't practice putting. Now, that things could change. We haven't talked to her in a while. Things could definitely have changed. But the last time I've talked to her on this podcast, she did mention that she never really just goes out and practice putting. She putts a little bit before her rounds. She putts during her rounds, but she never really goes out and practice. She knows putting is her weakness right now. She knows it. She mentioned it in her interviews. She mentioned it in her Instagram posts. My question, does she change? Like, is she doing anything to change it now? Because it's one thing if you're winning and you're putting great. Yeah, I don't practice putting. I I putt enough before my rounds. I putt during my rounds. I don't need to practice putting. That's fine. But all of a sudden, when things start doing poorly, are we going to see her out there putting in the effort? And this is where she says, she goes, fit that Krokhol, best driving approaching of my life in the last 2 rounds and the worst putting. So she knows it.
Yeah.
And is she like it, Gary, do you think she is the type of person that's going to play the game of, hey, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and all the things are just going to fall in place. I'm going to putt fine again. Or do you think she's the type of person that's like, I need to go out, figure out what's wrong, get my confidence back and start making putts?
I'd love to say that I think she's the kind of person to get up and do that, but I don't know that she is, because one of the things she keeps bringing up is, I've been playing through injury, I've been playing through sickness, and she had an opportunity to take a week off and to do something like that, but she chose to play anyway. When it's like, if you're really feeling like you're being bogged down by one of those things, take a week off. The majors are more important than going and playing in one of these events. I know it's the European events and you want to show up because you're basically like the queen of Europe and you've got to be there. But if it's going to keep you from playing at your absolute best, you have to make the champion decision of maybe sitting out a week and taking some rest. So I don't know that she's the kind of person to make those changes. I almost wonder if she's sitting back and there's a part of her saying, you're still the person who you've always been. And one of these days you're going to wake up and see it. And it's like having one of these rounds where her driving and her approaching were the best she's ever had. If almost as if that's keeping her from changing anything, because she's like, it's there, the game's there. I just needed to all come together. It's almost like she needs like a rock bottom round to convince her to do anything different. But I don't think she's doing anything different. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the playoff disaster. This was just bad, Gary. I haven't heard anyone or seen anyone say that they enjoyed this playoff. They thought that was a good playoff. It wasn't a good playoff. It was a bad hole. It was a bad hole design. And I think what this really shows, I think what this really showcases is something that I've been saying on this podcast for a very long time. And hopefully you guys can agree with me, listeners at home, live right now in the chat or on Spotify or wherever. This is the problem with disc golf course design right now. It shows in this playoff. There should never be a hole in disc golf where you're waiting for someone to make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I described this probably the best over on debate night. So I'm going to use the same kind of analogies I used in debate night. When I'm watching a 100-meter race, okay, track and field 100-meter race, I'm not thinking, oh gosh, who's going to fall out of the starting gate. When I'm watching hurdles, I'm not thinking who's going to trip on a hurdle right before the finish line. When I'm watching a swimming race, I'm not thinking who's going to cramp and start drowning. You're not looking for someone to make a mistake in these individual sports, right? Because again, it's different when it's like 1v1 or a team versus a team. In these individual sports, you're not looking for someone to do something terrible, right? You're looking for someone to do something unthinkable that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he just made that 50-foot putt on the last hole. You're waiting for the big moment. And there's a reason why when Jakob misses the putt, the reaction was like, ugh. It was always going to be that. The only way we were ever going to get a good reaction from that hole was if one of those two players would have thrown in their upshot. That was it. It was always going to come down to someone missing a putt that they should have made. Always. And it's just when you have holes like this in disc golf, and the problem is a lot of courses have a lot of holes like this. A lot of courses have a lot of holes like this. We need to be changing things. We need to be making landing zones worse. I don't remember what hole. It was either the second playoff hole or the third playoff hole. Jakob saws off his second shot. We're so used to it kind of going through the gap. If you want to say it's a gap, it's not really a gap, but you know what I'm saying. Going through that one spot and then spike Heisering in. And Jakob's shot comes out like 100 feet left. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, did he just throw OB? It's such a bad shot. And you see the spotter inbounds. Announcers, nope, he's inbounds. No problem. And it's like, okay, these guys can shank their shots off the tee shot, off the second shot. It doesn't matter. The green wasn't that hard to attack from that short distance. It's just, this again is where course design comes into play, because this hole was always going to be about who failed and who wasn't able to execute versus someone being able to do a very freaking good job. And I'll say this too, because I see some people complaining about the tournament that's about to go down in Estonia. And one of the comments I want to call out that I saw was, can we make circle one not OB again? Because apparently in this new layout, there's OB on every hole coming up, and a bunch of the OB sometimes cuts into the green. And this is what I have to say for you guys. Just on a skill level, think about this real quick. Just on a skill level, the best players in golf, which our sport is modeled after, the best players in golf are hitting shots into greens 300 plus feet majority of the time. Sometimes they're hitting shots into greens 600 feet from 200 yards, right? They're hitting shots into these greens where if they miss the pin by 10 feet left or 10 feet short or 10 feet long, they're dead. It rolls into the water. It rolls into a bunker. It rolls behind the green and they have an impossible chip. They're dead. They are trying to land it in a very specific spot on the green. It's not anywhere on the green is good. And also, the greens aren't 30 feet wide from every direction from where the pin is. The pin sometimes is like 7 feet away from the bunker, 7 feet away from the fringe that rolls off into the water. They're doing something that is so much harder to a much smaller landing zone. And here we are in disc golf where people just want players to be able to throw the disc 30 feet in any direction by the basket. It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all, guys. We're throwing a disc. It's much easier to control something when you throw it. Also, the other thing that we don't have to take into account is our disc just hit and stop. There's no rolling. You don't have to worry about spin control. Throw it on hyzer. It drops right in the ground. It's not going to go anywhere. Golf, you have to think about all that. And so from a skill standpoint, Gary, we are so behind the eight ball. We are so behind the eight ball when it comes to this. And if you're going to have, yes, you're going to have players complain. You're going to have all this complaint. But what is that going to make? That's going to make people get better. That's going to be people pay attention to, you know what? I can't try to throw this at the basket. I have to try to land 30 feet right of the basket here. Mm-hmm. And imagine, everyone real quick, put your little caps on here, everyone. I need everyone's thinking caps to come on. Imagine how sick hole 18 would have been, Gary, if 5 feet left of the basket was OB, all dead. And so think about hole 17, USDGC, the final basket. It's right there on the OB. So everyone's playing safe to the right side, right? And so you have Jakob, he has to throw first. He plays safe to the right side. He has a 35-footer. And then what does Ben do? Ben sticks it under the basket. That's a crazy shot. Everyone goes nuts. But no one's going nuts for Ben throwing a 220, 250-foot shot under the basket because there's no pressure. He misses 30 feet left, he has a putt. He misses 30 feet right, he has a putt. 30 feet long, he has a putt. 30 feet short, he has a putt. He's not scared. You change that one little thing and you make that hole all of a sudden so much more interesting.
Yeah, one of the comments brought up by Thor was saying the basket was not in its intended place. It was supposed to be same place as last year, which was 1 meter from the water, which might have made the approaches a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
As players had to think about it. Maybe they have to juice a little bit longer, and there's some now sketchy comeback putts at the basket, which would have, I think, made it more dynamic, because we saw Ben literally, I think if you put down like a heat map of every place his disc landed off the drive, it might have been within like a 20-foot circle. I mean, it was, I guess, a testament to accuracy, but it just got to a point where you're right. We can't reward someone for being the person who doesn't make the mistake. We got to reward someone who takes it and does something incredible to win the hole. What I wonder is this where, one of the big things that the European disc golf market is lauded for are the number of people who come to watch their events. They estimated that there were 1,200 tickets sold for the final day at this event. That's a lot of people to have on the grounds. And are we now seeing that new kind of infancy of, hey, big course, big market, big event? We didn't plan ahead on what we're going to do with these people. So we're just going to make a hole 18. Everyone can stay right where they're at, and we're not going to worry about it. And hopefully we don't have a playoff. And because that was a lot of the things that we heard was like, oh, it'd be tough to move the people here and do this, that, or whatever. But like at the end of the day, it's got to be different. You have to come into that event with a plan that is more than just one hole, unless that hole is something that creates a lot of separation, but it's got to be more than one hole. And I also heard that there were talks that, like, I don't know how true this is. It was on MDG Media. They mentioned that Jeff Spring possibly stepped in and was going to make a change or recommend that a change be made, which I don't know if I have a bigger problem with that.
I heard that the rumor that I heard was they wanted it to be a different playoff, and Disc Golf Pro Tour stepped in and said, no, it's hole 18 on repeat. That's what I heard.
Okay. And then I heard that after like the fourth playoff attempt on 18, that Jeff Spring was possibly trying to step in to change the hole, but I don't think you can do that.
I didn't hear that.
You definitely can't change.
That's crazy if that would have happened.
You can't change that mid playoff. I also heard arguments, people saying that, hey, Ricky and Mowry went OB off the drive, so it's definitely possible. But no, it just made for a really boring. If anything, it was a testament to go watch post-produce, because you have to watch them climb back up the hill and wait for that entire time. The only part of the whole playoff that I liked was the shot of all three players sitting in their own individualized golf carts back up the hill. I did like that one particular, shot of the footage. Otherwise, it was tough to watch. It was tough to watch.
So a couple things on the actual hole. There was only 2 eagles on the actual on hole 18 the entire week. Now I do think maybe the designers and the TDs and whatever thought that this hole was going to be more attractive to playing for eagle, and maybe that's why the Disc Golf Pro Tour, whoever made this change to do hole 18, maybe that came into play. But only 2 eagles all week. One of those being Ezra, who threw in his final round, his third shot from 150, 180 feet, and then the other eagle was Tomas Heitinen, who was 8 over going into that hole. So like he didn't care what happened. Now, were there multiple people attempting to maybe go for the eagle? Mm-hmm. Sure. And I think that's what we saw too between round 1 and the final round. People kind of learned, wait a second, going for this eagle makes no sense because I can take a bogey or a double or worse, or I can just play it super easy and get a birdie all round 3 rounds. Because we saw just in the top 20 players of each round, hole 18 produced 5 pars, 1 bogey, and 1 double, and then the rest birdies in round 1. It produced 4 pars, 1 bogey in round 2. And the final round, it produced 1 eagle, 2 pars, and 1 bogey and 1 double. The bogey and double coming from Ricky and Gannon, who were both kind of pressing the issue there at the end. So that I think that came into account a little bit. And the other thing, Gary, that I was thinking about, this is where I think FPO kind of screws over at MPO, because when you're thinking about what holes you want to make as your playoff, you have to also make those same holes, I believe, for FPO. It'd be wild to say, hey, FPO, your playoff holes are this. MPO, your playoff holes are this. I mean, I guess you could do that, but I'm wondering if that's also another thing they're thought about, because if you were going to do a playoff, it'd be, I think, a lot harder to like go into the middle of the course while MPO is still playing, or heck, start at hole 1 when MPO is trying to tee off, and now all of a sudden you have an FPO. You see what I'm saying? It's going to cause issues, and I'm wondering if they're like, hey, hole 18's right here. If FPO has a playoff, we can send them there. It won't back up MPO too much. Bada bing, bada boom. I think that maybe came into account too.
Yeah, for sure. I think I actually overheard they were possibly tearing down the course or tearing stuff down behind the lead card for MPO, so it would have made it hard to go back earlier in the course to do anything. But it felt like it. I come from a world where you have to prepare for every possible thing, and to only have one whole set and not prepare for other outcomes, just I think is an oversight by.
I think they just probably thought it was a great hole. I think they thought it was a great hole, and they didn't realize that no one was going to go for the eagle, and it was just going to make for a really, really boring disc golf.
How about if they would have made the players walk up the fairway? Who would have lasted longer?
Yeah, right. It just becomes a like a marathon. Who can actually finish? But again, I think I always say this is it's okay to fail. It's okay to mess up, because that gives you the ability to learn from it and get better next time. If the Disc Golf Pro Tour, if course designers, if anyone that watched that could come away from, hey, let's stop making holes like this. Let's stop making holes that are super simple, super easy, 3 really easy shots, a wide open green with no trouble. Let's stop doing that, and let's start challenging these players. And let's not, because this is where it is, Gary. A lot of these courses, you go and you're like, these are the 3 holes that are tough. I gotta get through these 3 holes. Yeah, maybe there's some other holes that are like, this is the easiest hole. But I don't know why that is. But in disc golf, it seems like there's 3 or 4 holes that are like so much harder than every other hole. And then there's just a bunch of really easy holes. Why not just make every hole challenging and then have a couple holes that are a little bit more challenging?
Yeah.
I don't understand why there's this massive gap between skill level of holes. It doesn't make sense to me.
If you were looking at the top 50 players in the sport, let's say take the top 50 MPO players in your mind, what is like, are you shooting for an even average hole score? Or do you want to see hole scores that are over par? Or do you want to, like, what in your mind, in like your optimal course creation, what kind of course average score do you want to see the top 50 MPO players on tour shooting?
I mean, I think you just got to get to it to where a par, you're not upset. Like disc golf right now on the Pro Tour, if you're parring holes, you feel like you're getting behind the 8 ball. You know, if you par the first 9 holes at a tournament, you're thinking to yourself, "Oh crap. Like I need to start lighting it up on the back 9."
Yeah.
So to me, it's like you are going to have Gannons and Rickies and Pauls. You're going to have some of these top guys go out and play well and still shoot 7, 8, 9 under. You're going to have it. Disc golf is too easy to. You'd have to make courses stupid, challenging, difficult for that not to happen. What I want to see, though, is I want to see course management. I want to see, like, hey, if you land on the left side of this fairway, your next shot is really hard.
Yeah.
Into a very challenging green. So you're now leaving yourself a 45-footer, 50-footer at best, versus, oh, no, you just have to throw a little bit harder of a spike hyzer. Like you have to throw like a 50-foot farther spike hyzer. That's all you have to do. Because, like, when you're at the top of the top, a 300-foot spike hyzer, 350-foot spike hyzer into a wide open green, it's not a challenge. You're going to get a putt every time. So, yeah, Mad Dog just says Northwood Black does that well. 100%. A lot of L-shaped holes, right? If you don't get in the right spot, left to right, north to south, you're dead. So I think there's a lot of things they can do to make it. But what I would love to see is, like, when you start playing really good, you might have 7 birdies and a bogey. That's a great round. Yeah. what I don't want to see is like you go to MPO here, and it's like, I mean, honestly, there are some holes on this course, but it's just like there's sections, there's like certain holes. Like I can just look right now. Hole 12 through 14, too easy. How do I know? Well, I'm going down the leaderboard. There's not a single person so far that got a bogey on 12 through 14.
Yep, 5 through 7 is a pretty easy stretch too.
I'm going through. I'm trying to find our first bogey was on 24th. He took a double on 12. You have to go down to all the way down to 24th place to find the first person that took that went over par on one of those holes. So to me, like 12 through 14 is just too easy. That stretch is just too easy. It's pars, birdies, pars, birdies, pars, birdies.
Yep.
Like you got to make it to where numbers are on every hole. They're lurking on every hole. That adds the stress, adds the drama.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else about the playoff? I think we nailed pretty much everything.
Yep.
All right. Do you want to talk a little bit about this Prodigy disc, Mint disc? Collaborate. I don't know. What is it? Collaborate? What would you consider this?
It looks like they're going to be helping them make their discs, and they're going to try to help increase like the overall quality of what Mint's putting out. So it's sort of a collaboration of sorts, but it's interesting to see because I think at the beginning of the year, Prodigy was one of those companies that we all looked at. They were like, do they have the money to be doing these things? Are they making good business decisions? And in the middle of the year, they're making kind of these moves, and so it's we have Shoestrick on CEO watch.
Okay. Yeah. They announced that they're going to be the new manufacturing partner. They're going to have a new manufacturing partnership with Mint Disc. So be on the lookout for that, guys. All right. Something that we've talked about a lot on this podcast, something that Edwin Stats also discussed a lot when it comes to player ratings is like, should we put them at the same level distance-wise as AB? That is kind of like how far does AB really throw compared to these guys? Are they on the same level? Simon Lazotte's name's up there. Eagle's name's up there. Ezra's name's up there. Ricky, all these guys, like who they throw. Well, we got to find out today. He's on a whole different level, Gary. He is on a whole different level than everyone else. And it's not close, folks. It is not close. The Superstar Challenge went down today. It was a 4-team event out at the field grounds, or the Rockstar layout, I guess is what they're calling it this year. And it was 2v2. So one team versus another team, and then another team versus another team. And you had the captains, I believe, were Ricky, Silver, Jeremy, and then was Eagle the fourth captain? Who was the captain of that team?
So you've got the Bazooka Battalion for Tom. You've got the Germinators.
Tom. Okay, Tom was the captain, not Silver.
Yep, Germinators. Then you got Missy and the Bombers. So Missy.
Okay.
And then Waisaki's Warriors.
Okay. So those are the 4 teams. They all teed off from hole 1's tee pad. And it was just like a distance contest. It didn't really seem like sometimes they were saying it was out of bounds. I didn't really know what the out of bounds were because like there was like markers, Gary, but sometimes they were landing outside the markers. And
they have a couple holes that are on that
still being counted. So I didn't really understand like where the in and out bounds were. But guys, you had Simon throwing, Eagle throwing, Ricky throwing, Big Germ, who throws pretty far too, throwing. And AB, Gannon. We also saw too, Gannon post some stuff this offseason about throwing extremely far, right? And some people are wondering, like, was that actually real distance? Well, they're throwing downhill, Gary. They're throwing downhill. You should be able to throw really a lot farther downhill. No one was close to AB. He threw 669 feet. Simon had a decent one, but no one was close to AB, Gary. It was crazy to see the difference in his power in speed than all the other guys. It was nuts. It was really nuts. So if there was ever a question of who throws the farthest on tour, how far do these other guys throw? Simon's not close. Eagle's not close. Ricky's not close. Gannon's not close. It's AB and then everyone else.
The scary part is how surprised he looked after he threw it. It just tells me that this is like he's got more. I'm scared of someone who continues to surprise themselves at how far they threw. I do have a question for you though about this Superstar Challenge, which I think is interesting. They had 3,500 people show up to watch this thing, and it was on a Tuesday, which typically the Pro Tour likes to just jam things the day before the event. So what do you think from like a viewing perspective? I'll be curious to see what the numbers are viewing like on like the YouTube and everything after it's sat for a while, but to have it on a Tuesday and then allow another day for practice in between, is it nice to have that extra day in between, or would you rather just kind of jump from that event right into the event and go from there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, pro-ams at tournaments, those happen the day before events, right? You go out on Wednesday and the pros play 9 holes with you, and then you play 9 holes with a pro on the back 9 with another pro. And those happen the day before. I don't think the day really necessarily matters. I think why this worked so well is I think they probably did a fantastic job of marketing it to the city to let them know that was happening. Seating, you can actually sit in a stadium seating. You're not standing in a field somewhere. And it was all very enclosed. Right? You're throwing out, then they're throwing back at you, and then they're putting right in front of you. So everything was really, really close. If you guys haven't watched it, if you want to give it a watch, go for it. To me, it's another like post-produced thing. I don't think it's a great live event. Personally, there was a lot of downtime in between. Yeah. They also took like a pretty substantial break in between the matches, in between the first 2 matches and the last 2 matches. Not really quite sure what that was about. They also showed the 3rd place match, which I could care less about. And so I think, again, it's another thing that I think works a lot better for post. But there was a decent amount of people watching it live. I think a couple thousand people were watching it live too.
Yeah, they're already at 36,000 views, and it was streamed 6 hours ago, which if you look at a lot of the other stuff that they've streamed, they're kind of capping off around 55 to 65,000 views. So to be only 6 hours old and still have that many views shows that people did seem to enjoy it. And they really hyped it up too. Like if you watch the player introductions, they tend to get more excited about it, and it allows the players to get excited. And I think there is something to be said about when you can get the players excited around it, then that helps really make people want to watch it more, as opposed to like the President's Cup, when it's just sort of like, we're here at the President's Cup. It's this person.
Yeah. This person. Someone said that there was a concert going on during the break. So
yeah,
it was clearly more of a live event if you were there type of thing versus watching it. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for writing that in. The putting, I think they probably, if you're going to change some things, I think you got to change some stuff with the putting format. The putting competition was kind of boring. Everyone was just going for the 75. The other ones seemed like they were a little bit too far away for how risky it was to go for the extra points there. It's also really hard to make putting interesting. Yeah. But I need to see something better than accuracy. Like I need to see something cooler than just throwing to a basket and seeing how close you get to a basket. Like I would love to see the idea of how far you can throw down a narrow hallway or, create something like that. I think that would be interesting. I think having something where, you're throwing into glass. So there's a bunch of different things. Think about like similar to how they had the basket set up for the putting. If they had something set up like that for the accuracy, and maybe 50 feet away is 50 points, and then 100 feet away is 100 points. Having stuff where you're throwing and breaking stuff, I think that would be more interesting. Just watching players throw spike hyzers into a green, it's not the most interesting. I think seeing something different there would be really cool. But the distance thing is always going to be the key. People are always very interested to see how far people throw.
Yeah. especially in person, because to see someone do it online is amazing, but to see someone throw that far in person, to hear the attack helicopter sound coming off the disc as it releases is just it's a whole different ball game.
All right, we got a big pick'em here coming up. Last week's pick'em is up. The stores are up. We got lucky.
Yeah.
Because we picked Silva and Holland there. Our MPO side, not great. Gooseman, not that bad of a pick. I know a lot of people were trashing us for picking Gooseman over Sully. Both of them didn't score. I think Sully got 12th. So Gooseman finishing in 14th, not that far off. The Ezra Robinson pick was terrible.
That's brutal.
That was a bad pick. 58th, and then Cat Merch not getting a top 10. I think you kind of didn't like my Cat Merch pick, but I was like, surely she gets a top 10. She finishes in 16th. That's tough. And then Gannon kind of just messing around on the final hole didn't help us either.
Yeah.
Lost probably a few points there with him just kind of putzing in that final hole. But we did get a nice 40 points between Silva and Holland. The Grip Lock boys got a total of 36.5 points, so we still beat them 5 points, and we are currently in the lead by 142 points for the season. Now, Edwin did let me know that this week is massive because it is major week, and for those that don't know, major week 1.5x. So big time week right here. You can get a lot of points if you get the winners here. And I think on the FPO side, I have no idea where we're going, but that's where we're going first.
Yeah.
So let's do it. I still think the strategy here, Gary, is I don't think Kristin deserves the $7 spot.
No, I think you got 5 of the best players in FPO right there at the tier 4, and I don't know why you'd ever put all of your eggs in one basket.
I think Edwin's going to have to change it, and I think he might also have to change it maybe for Gannon too if Gannon doesn't pop off and win one of these majors. Because right now it doesn't make sense to go Kristin here. It just doesn't.
No.
Is she going to get a top 10? 1,000%. But she's no longer guaranteed to win or get second. And so I think you take 2 out of the tier 2s that give you a chance, swing for the fences, and then you take a tier 3.
Exactly.
Okay. You got it. I think we got to go Holland here.
For sure.
And then the other two picks I have here is either Missy or Evelina.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the course, there's OB on every single hole. Throwing is going to be a real premium, I think. And I know Missy Gannon has the talent. I know she does. But what have you done for me lately? I feel like Evelina's just she's won the last 3 events. She's won the last 3 events she's played in.
All right, ride the hot hand. Let's go Evelina. Holland and Evelina. All right. Tier 2. Do we go like a dark horse Ella who just had a good tournament? Or do we stick with a Paige that has some, major pedigree?
That's a tough one. Trying to see.
I'm scared of Cat Merch. I can't.
She's not been great all year long. I mean, she's been fine. The problem is you don't want fine. You want.
We go Anakin.
Anakin's playing pretty solid. She got 6th, I think, this past weekend, right? She's been doing pretty well for herself. Let's see.
Haley's not there.
Yep.
Hannah's a wild card. Hannah's an absolute wild card.
100%.
Rebecca Cox, I don't even know if she's there. I don't think she is.
She just played.
She's not there.
No, she's not there. I mean, you've also
we could also go some like super dark horse and go like we could go.
Is Valerie Mandahano there? Yes, she is. So
But we could go
Valerie's
dark horse and go like Rachel Turton.
I was gonna say Rachel Turton is someone who I was looking
Pretty
at
consistent
for the hill because she's been really solid up to this point. I'm pulling up her finishes. Okay, she has played 4 events and her finishes are 3rd, 7th, and 8th. So she's been playing pretty solid. But I'm also looking. I was surprised when I saw Val's numbers because her last 4 events are 6th, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Her only problem is she has
Mark
not
just
played.
said Turton performed poorly at this event last year. Mark, you're gonna have to give me more information than that. What place did she finish at?
The scary part with Val is she has not played since DMC. So coming over first time in Europe for the year, that's a tough.
I think you go.
Tough pick.
I think Stan might be the play here.
Yeah, because you're looking at she has only. Since Champs Cup, she's 7th, 8th, 6th, 4th, 2nd, and 7th. So she's been a top 10 machine.
Edwin, do we have a $1 rollover if we go Sten? Maybe he'll let us roll that $1 over into the next episode.
There you go.
Wouldn't mind having it for Worlds. He said no, we don't.
No.
Turn got 27th at this tournament last year. Yikes. Okay, stay away from Turn.
Yeah, I'm thinking Annika Sten might be the way to go, or you take the flyer at like Ella Hansen, but
Sten's playing so good though. Let's go Sten.
All right, sounds good.
Let's go Sten. All right, there's our top 3. All right, MPO. Dear God.
It is getting so hard to pick MPO, especially in Europe.
Let's think about who we think can win this thing.
Yeah.
Nicholas could win this thing.
Very well could.
Paul could win this thing.
Yeah, Ricky could. Didn't Ricky? Yeah, Ricky dominated this one last year, I think. Paul had like
Isaac could win this thing.
Yeah, Isaac's another good pick with everything being surrounded by OB.
Ezra could win this thing.
I think the first decision we have to make is are we saying no to Gannon? Are we going to bypass Gannon here?
Gosh dang it, Gannon. I didn't like that Gannon. Something's going on with Gannon right now. Because I don't know if did you watch the end of the thing today?
No, I didn't see the very, very end of it.
Okay, so he was the last to go. He had to make, if he made 100, so there was a 75, which was like 24 feet away or 21 feet away. Not that far of a putt. You got 75 points. Then there was a putt that was maybe like circle's edge for 150 points. He initially, if he made, and I think if you make one, you can't make it in that same basket. If he would have got 150 points, he would have basically forced the team behind them to have to make 150 points and a 75 pointer.
Gotcha.
He missed his first putt. You get 2 putts. He missed his first putt to the 150 pointer, and he like turned to Ricky to ask him what he should do. And Ricky's like, make whatever one you think you can make. If you think you can make the 150, go for it. And he goes, if you make just, or if you don't think you do it, just make the 75. And he said, like, I don't know, I could miss the 75. And then I think the girls on his team were just like, we need the points. We need the points. And then he missed the 75 footer. And he like comes off and he was like, man, I was so nervous. I don't know what's going on with Gannon.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like those vibes going into this tournament.
Yeah, I feel like if this was Worlds, I'd be much more comfortable picking Gannon given the courses but this one, yeah, I think bypassing him might not be a bad choice.
He could also win by 10 though.
He could. He very well could.
That's the other thing. He also could win by 10.
Then we just have to make sure we pick the people who are going to come in second and third.
I know. Gannon would be the first to tell you that he's like the least confident person in himself and then go out and shoot the course record.
Well, it is a major, so Isaac gets an immediate boost in pickability.
I know.
And I just watched him absolutely park, I think, hole 18 like it was nothing on his Instagram. So
we have to go Nicholas. I have to go Nicholas here.
Okay.
Now
makes sense.
I think we either go Isaac or Paul.
Yeah.
I'll let you pick.
Mm.
You take this one.
Well, I'm on the Paul's not going to win another major train, so I almost have to lean
You
in
gotta go
Isaac's
Isaac.
direction.
We gotta roll Isaac then.
Yeah, I think it's got to
Well,
be
here's
Isaac.
the thing. Going Paul, he could still get second. That's a lot of points. He could get second. He could get second to Niklaus. Niklaus can't. If Niklaus wins, Paul can't win.
That's got to be true. I don't know. Unless you wanna bypass me, Paul has just scared me in the last several events in terms of picking him. I don't think. I mean, what are his finishes here recently? What has Paul done for us recently? 21st, 48th, 15th, 19th.
What is that? What is that telling you? Paul before
6.
Isaac.
Mm.
We have not seen a tournament yet where Paul has had multiple good rounds.
Yep.
Now, I think longer tournaments that bodes well, because if you have 3 good rounds and 1 bad round in a 4-round tournament, you're going to move up the leaderboard a lot more than in a 3-round tournament if you have 1 bad round. But
Paul's not been in the top 15 since Cascade. I just don't.
All right, roll with Isaac. Let's go.
I don't trust Paul right now.
Niklaus and Isaac, we roll. And that leaves us with a $2 pick.
There's only 2 people in this category who make any sense, I think.
No, there's more than 2. There could be 4 people. What are you talking about?
Well, there could be 4, but I'm saying consistency.
Who are your 2 people? Who are your 2 people?
I feel like it's got to be Klein or Holden.
Yes.
Ezra Robinson scares me too much once again with the consistency, and Adam Hammes could legitimately win the entire thing, but he could also come in 80th. Like,
is there anyone sneaky? I think the only sneaky person in tier 4 is Sully.
Sully. Could sneaky Sully.
Do we just ride the hot hand with Ezzy?
I think we give it to your boy and go with Ezra.
Let's ride it. Let's ride our hot. I mean, no one was even talking about Ezra in the last tournament. He got like 3rd place.
Yeah,
like it wasn't even. I don't even know what is going on. It's just like it just seems like when he just goes out and plays now, he's just picking up top 5s.
Oh yeah.
So all right, we're going Ez. There
Adam, I'm in the trade the buttons in your pocket tier, so don't worry.
All right, there it is. All right, we got listener questions. We got a couple good ones here. A couple good ones. Wild claim time. I had the idea for spectator ropes in 2021 and presented it to Jeff Spring and Steve Jodge after Maple Hill 2021 when drunk fans were fake trying to trip me while I was spotting. Fake trying to trip me. Okay. Does the European tour not use them? I saw fans all over the dang place. So I think in some of these other like more natural courses, I don't know, is that the right way of saying, like courses that are in the wild, if you will, the infrastructure that you could put up there is going to be very, very limited. 1, there's just not a lot of room, and 2, the landscapes just doesn't really allow it. I think you'll be very surprised to see the amount of infrastructure at this tournament. I think every hole is going to have barriers surrounded around it, so fans can't even get onto the course. This is going to look like almost like a Formula 1 race. It's going to look very professionally done. So I think when you're playing up in the mountains and you're playing out in the woods and stuff, it's a lot harder to put up that stuff, especially when the courses are so tight and not as open as we've seen other courses.
For sure.
I'm curious about the impact of appearances on non-industry shows or content. What impact have you seen to your brand over the years as you make different appearances? How hard is it to get on a local or national show? Can players or the Pro Tour benefit from these appearances? It's actually a good question. So I think a lot of it has to do with just the demographics of the shows that you're going on. So, for example, when I would do a video with Dude Perfect, who has a very similar demographic to mine, which is like young, middle school, high school. I mean, now Dude Perfect kind of goes more for like the younger kids. But when they first were going, it was much more like middle school, high school, college, which was roughly around my demographic as well. And they were, sports, like to watch entertaining sports content. So when I would do a video with them, I would see a huge spike. Now, also, you have to remember we're on the same platform. So it was very, very easy for someone to watch a video that I was in with Dude Perfect and to immediately go to my channel and subscribe. It's a little bit different when I go on America's Got Talent, or I go on a Dark Horse Japanese TV show, or Amazing Race, or I did this Netflix show. And when you start going on different platforms, it's a lot harder. And I think what they tend to gravitate towards when you're on those is they tend to gravitate towards more like Instagram or Twitter. So they'll go and try to, if they like what you did or they're interested, they'll go and look up your Instagram or Twitter. And then maybe from there, they'll go to your like YouTube. So that's where it's like, it's a little bit different with like disc golf as a brand, because you could see a disc golf player going on to their local news station and they're wearing their disc golf outfit. And this is something like Ultimate Frisbee did a lot. I think it did literally nothing, but it also is free. And what's the harm, right? It's not negative. Yeah. So I think and really ultimately it might not do anything instantly that time, but what it could do is you could be putting it out to someone and maybe a couple of weeks, something else hits them. Or maybe a couple of months go by and a friend says, hey, you want to go play disc golf? And they're like, oh, I remember watching this guy. He was a professional disc. Yeah, that's it. So I think it's more about that than, quite frankly, we get someone to go on a local station and all of a sudden the sport blows up. I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Yeah, I think we have two barriers that we have to overcome as a sport. And that is, number one, you have the general obstacle that most common sports fans see disc golfers as people who wish their sport was something different or wish their sport was something else. And the more we get players, I loved seeing Ezra win, because you look back at the history of winners in our sport, and I'm not suggesting that they weren't athletes, because we've had a lot of athletes play, but not athletes at the same level as a lot of sports. But when you see Ezra, you're like, dang, that man's an athlete and he's playing a sport. I think it creates a different perspective. The other problem that we have with disc golf is we don't often have great places for new people to land and land in a way that captivates them correctly. We have a lot of silly stuff. If they don't land in the right place, it's like, oh, this sport's kind of cute, and that's what they walk away with. So that's why I'm a huge advocate for increasing the quality of our product. That way, if we can get someone to land in the right spot, that's why when someone asks me, Gary, I want to watch disc golf, what do? I don't tell them to go watch live coverage right away. I say, go watch the final round of this world championship or go to watch this event, and if you like it, we'll talk about watching something else, and we'll get in there, because we got to get people to land in the right place. And to do that, we have to have a better product to present people with when they come over to find disc golf.
Next question is asked. I'm curious about not a question, but something super simple. I think the Disc Golf Network should do, what they should do is they should make the majors feel more majorish. Change the color of the graphics on the screen, change the music. Each major should have its own unique personality, but year after year, they all feel the same. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, it sounds like a no-brainer, but I think, does the USDGC do that? I'm trying to remember.
I don't know if they do it. There's a general like brand that you see when you're on the course. It feels like USDGC has a unique identity. I know that they do it in all like the post-produced stuff, which is always makes those fascinating to watch. Like Joe Mez will do a piece on the World Championships or the European, Open or whatever it may be, and that adds a lot of gravitas to it. But I don't think they do very much on the live perspective. When it maybe you might see the commentators wearing some matching outfit that's a little bit better than outfit. But that's about it.
Yeah, I love this idea, and I think the more we can have different companies take over majors, I think the better, because then they're like, hey, this is my baby. This is how we're doing it. And almost have like the Disc Golf Network be maybe the thing they broadcast out with, and not the thing that, maybe they bring in their own commentator for like we're seeing it a little bit with the European Open. They're bringing in their kind of own commentators for it. Just something to make it different. I'm with this guy. You got to make it feel more major-ish. I'm with you on that. Do you see a future where the Disc Golf Pro Tour is a fully sustainable league where every athlete competing is making at least a minimum salary, allowing them to focus solely on disc golf, not just the top 20, 25%? What would make this viable? This is never going to happen. And the reason for that is golf has 100x, 1,000x the budget that disc golf has. I mean, you just saw the tournament that just happened this past week. The winner got $8,000. That is a laughable payout in golf. The majority of golf tournaments, the winners are getting close to close to seven figures. So it's just not even close. And there are people that are in the top 150 of PGA of golf, one of the top 150 golfers in the world, and they're not making a salary. If they go out and have a bad year, they don't make any money. And a lot of them talk about how much money they spend on traveling and Airbnbs and all that. So no shot. Never going to happen. If golf isn't doing it right now, it ain't going to happen in disc golf. Why does coverage insist on constant drone shots? Now, you might think I'm going to be on your side on this, because I think I did pop into the live this past week and I said something about it, because I was like, dude, the amount of drone shots that we're seeing is insane, especially at PCS. We were seeing so many drone shots, and I'll die on this hill. The drone shot sucks for live shots. It should only ever be used maybe before the shot happens to kind of maybe give an overview of maybe some landscape that might be tough to see, or if they want like a cool replay angle, sure.
Or a backdrop for graphics,
Now, I did hear from one of the commentators at PCS, they did mention that their cameras were doing really poorly on a couple of these holes, and that's why we were seeing a lot of the drone. If that is the case, then I'm okay with it, because I think it's better to see something than nothing.
Yeah.
So if we're not able to get anything from the cameras on the ground and the only shot we have is the drone, give me the drone.
Yeah. The drone should do two things. It should set the stage before the event or during those kind of off times for how beautiful the places we're playing at. Yay, this is fantastic. Or it should provide context.
Yeah.
Like when what's his face goes overhand on Waco hole 17, for a fact I want to see that on the drone replay after we see the regular replay of it, because we as fans don't have context for how great that shot was with just basic cameras.
Yes, 100%. So that's where I'm in with the drone shot. I only want to see it when it actually makes sense. Do not show me a drone shot of a putt ever. Unless, again, all cameras are dead and you can't give me any camera angle, then fine, I'll take the drone shot putt. But, dear God, that should be your last option. All right, great question. And PJ and Mike, let us know, too, your answer in the chat. And everyone else, if you're listening, let us know your answer in the chat, because this is a great question. Who will be the first player to get their second Disc Golf Pro Tour win? Ezra Aderhold, Ezra Robinson, Matty O, Benjamin Callaway, Parker Welk, or Corey Ellis?
That's easy.
You think that's an easy one?
It's Ezra Aderhold. I think it's Ezra or Ezra, and of the two, just with the overall consistency, it's Ezra Aderhold.
I think Corey's in there too, though.
I don't know. I don't know that Corey has the consistency, but he very well could.
But he just needs to pop off.
Yeah, but I would rather bet on someone who doesn't need to pop off to win than someone who needs to pop off to win.
I think the two Ezras make the most sense. I would agree.
Ooh, there you go. Gets his third before any of them gets their second. For Ezra Aderhold.
Oh wow,
That's a bold statement right there.
Bold statement. All right, we got final question of the night here. When players are on coverage, do they watch it back to see what the announcers say about them and their play? Has Yuli ever bit his tongue on Jomez as to not offend a player? So we'll have to wait when Yuli gets back on the pod. We'll have to wait and ask him that one for you, brother. But from what I have seen, it depends. Some players love to go back and watch their coverage and listen and all that. Some players love to do it while they're playing. Like as they're on the card, they love watching it. For me, I would say not really. I see enough of myself. I don't really need to see it anymore. And really, I'm not learning anything from going back. Now, I will watch. A lot of times I will watch rounds from the year before I go to a tournament to see how players are attacking holes and maybe if they're throwing certain shots that I didn't think about. Obviously, courses change all the time, but you can at least get a decent idea. But I would say it just depends on the players. I think some players do like to go back and watch themselves and some don't. Like, do I think Ezra went back and watched his final round of Jomez? I don't think so. I would guess no, he didn't. I would be a little surprised if he did. All right. Little recap, foundation recap for you guys. Kelsey and Connor Ace Challenge went well without a hitch. If you haven't watched it, I know the audio is trash. We'll try to figure that out for the next live stream. I'm not quite sure what's going on with the audio, but that is currently up on the Foundation Disc Golf YouTube channel. So if you want to go see that, go and click the live to see the Kelsey versus Connor Ace Challenge. Janice Raptors completely sold out. So thank you to everyone that bought one of those and to the guy on Twitter that said, who in the right mind would ever buy this? Well, get wrecked, brother. And the Ace-a-thon disc, I'm telling you right now, these things are hot. They are hot. They're not only going to be used to potentially try to win, I believe, a free trip to any course in the United States to go play with the Foundation Disc Golf crew, which will be a lot of fun. That I think is the grand prize. And you have to ace with one of these discs. They're also awesome discs. It's in my bag. I threw it a lot during Imposter. I love it. If you're looking for a nice straight mid, this Ace-a-thon Buzz SS is the one for you. So these drop this Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. They're going to go fast. So if you want one of these bad boys, because people are going to buy 5, 10, 15, 20 of these things. So if you're going to want one of these things, mark your calendars, 5 p.m. Eastern, foundationdisc.com. The Ace-a-thon drop goes down. And now, last thing to talk about before the episode ends. What do you boys think about doing some recap episodes here after the tournament? How is everyone feeling about the recap? Mike, what's your schedule looking like? Because I'm thinking like that might be our best chance to get people on, is trying to get them basically right after the rounds.
Yep.
So Thursday, that would be, let's see.
Early afternoon-ish.
What time would that be? Roughly like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock?
Around there. I think so.
No, earlier than that. Earlier than that, Gary. They're going to be finishing. They're going to be teeing off at.
Here, I'll tell you. They tee off. Latest tee off is going to be. Sort for me. 4 p.m. I think their time.
Has to be their time. Has to be their time. Yeah. So that would be 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock a.m. our time.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be done. Yeah, they're gonna be done around like 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. So I don't know what that looks like for you guys, but I think popping on here and then I'll just basically have it open-ended maybe send some text out to some people, but just basically have it on here of where if anyone wants to come on and talk, I think that would be sweet. Maybe have some people pop in the chat, get them on.
Yeah, I'll be available.
See how it goes. Should be a good time. So be on the lookout for that, guys. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We might be doing little recaps. I think that's the only way we're going to be able to get people to come on, because otherwise it's going to be way, way too late. And also, obviously, it's a bad time to get people to stay up late when you're trying to get a major going. So be on the lookout for that. We'll talk a little bit maybe offline to try to hammer out some of the details there. But it should be a good little recap session for the majors. See how our guys doing in the pick'em go. But I'm excited. I also want to say I did hear from Gooseman. I texted asking about the ground. It is only affecting like 3 of the holes, the grass that they laid, the new sod. And he said it's not bad. The mud is pretty packed in and the grass is actually good. I'm surprised how good it plays. So
it's good.
I think it's looking way better than we were expecting it to look and feel. I think some people are maybe still going with some standstills on some of those holes. I think hole 1, for example, like the second shot from hole 1, we might see some standstill shots there. But overall, I think the course is going to play pretty well. I think they did a good job of making it at least look good appearance-wise, because it looks fine today on the coverage that they were showing, which was a lot of where the dirt, the mud and dirt were. So, all right. Well, I think that's it. Unless Gary or Mike have anything else.
Nope, I think we got it all.
All right. Make sure you guys tune back in right here for some recaps of the first major over in Europe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.